studies from applicants so that they can finish out the secret document for each site.
Okay.
So right now where we are, we're waiting just for more information from applicants.
Mm-hmm. And you're expecting 4 to go
Hopefully soon. I would
You're just-
imagine consultants are preparing them, and they're preparing things as quickly as they can.
Okay.
So hoping for last week.
Okay.
You know, as I'm sure they are too, and they've just been overwhelmed with their workload as well.
Okay. And
But SHN does not do any of the technical studies themselves.
correct.
Yeah.
Right. They just are preparing it for you to present in front of the PC first.
They present the technical studies to SHN. They use that data to present the information.
So this extension and increase of contract will just help move all kinds of projects forward a little faster.
Yeah, we're looking beyond what's going on in the cannabis world.
Sure.
We have a lot of processing on the other side of the house
Great.
for
Just building, I assume.
subdivision maps, lot line adjustments, different things. We reserve them more for the technical advanced stuff so that we can have someone working on it and be able to move it beyond what our staff is technically available to do right now. They're not necessarily able to do everything just yet.
Got
We'll
it.
get there, but this is to provide that assistance to get it moved forward.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. That's all.
Okay. Any public comment?
Yeah, I'd like to speak from here if I can. Seems like this happens all the time. We bring somebody on, we make a decision, or someone makes a decision, and then they come back before you guys and ask for permission after it's already gone, after something's already come up. You know, you've already got people from February, not a couple months, from February, that have been working, and now they're coming forward and saying, well, now we need them. We need them on a permanent basis, on a more permanent basis. You know, you guys need to get control of this. You know, you can't approve stuff that has already happened, already out the door, and then promised, you know, that these people are promised that well, we're going to bring you on, we're going to pay you now, and go forward, and act like, oh, well, nothing's happened. Because that's what's really happening here, is these people are already on the job. They're already doing this. This has already been agreed upon. You know, whether you guys know it or not, whether you're looking at it or not, if you read your backup material here, it really points it out. It points out that these folks have been doing consulting for you guys, for the planning department, and I don't really mean to be picking on the planning department because it happens across the board in a lot of different areas, the school districts in every place in this county, where you guys should be in control of it. You guys should be making this decision when they come, and they should ask you before they have them over an extended period of time. And they don't. This happens, you know? And then someone asks for approval after they've already done it.
Is that not quite the case?
Sure.
No work has been done today. That's why we're trying to bring it to you before we get going on it. The work, the initial work is being done, the initial $25,000. This is to expand beyond what we have. We are short on staff, and I know that we've got a workload that's behind us, and we're trying to bring on people. We have been recruiting like crazy over and over and over. I've probably spent $3,000 or $4,000 now on advertisements alone just to get people in the planning department. And unfortunately, right now with the market, I cannot draw people. You've probably heard my frustration several times. So this is where I see the need right now, and I see it building. I'm trying to be out ahead of it, so that's why we're asking for the permission to bring these people on and be ready to meet those requirements. But this part, beyond the initial scope of what they're asked for, they have not done any work.
So we cut off any more public, was there any more public comment? No, okay. Coming back to the board.
I move to approve.
Second.
Further discussion, there is a spelling error in your amendment one.
And I'd like to discuss something on this. I'm totally confused. personally, I thought these people were hired how long ago? And I thought they were already doing all this. I mean, personally, I was sitting on that side of the fence, and this is having a direct effect on me. I was told these people were personally handling some of my projects, and I know right now they're not handling any of them. So I think what Mr. Weir is getting into, and I think everyone in this room should be aware of, is that there's a serious failure of communication here on what is being told to people, specifically me. I was just in a room with you, Leslie, and Richard, and what I was told is absolutely not happening in the situation I was told, and this group was partially involved, so I'm clueless. What do these people really do, and what have they done?
They were working earlier on processing use permits involved with cannabis activities. What I'm asking them to do now is to be involved with standard planning activities that involve everything that is outside of cannabis, so that we were able to meet the requirements that we have to meet.
So in other words, you're hiring them to be our senior planner, in other words.
Yes. Until I have a successful recruitment, or I'm able to.
Now, are you sure this is the best company for this? Or did you put this out to other companies that might be more qualified than this company to handle this? Because I personally have not seen them doing very much since you hired them previously. I haven't seen, as we're talking about, I think Ms. Morris said we've had one thing, the nursery, make it through. We're so far behind, and I know specifically, I brought some paperwork to this county that had to do from the city of San Rafael and the county of Santa Cruz about trying to get operations and movement here. And it seems to me that we've got this slowed down to beyond a stop. We have this entire county shut down right now because we can't seem to get anything through our own planning department and or this company we're hiring. So my question is have you done research into who's Humboldt's using or whoever any other company's using that is actually a specific professional in this manner already, not just taking it on, but actually is handling this for other counties? Because we're about to sink this entire program. This is not a joke. I mean, I know from hearing from people, and I know from my own personal adventure into this regulated market, that obstructions in any manner are absolutely killing this. And our county is desperate for some sort of economy here. So I'm just making sure you're hiring the best person for this, or the best group of people, because I'm not seeing it.
I feel comfortable on who we're hiring for several factors. One is that they're not involved in a lot of the activities that are going on around here, so they can bring an independent view to what's going on there and not be accused of being biased or slanted towards a particular group. We have done work quite a few times with them before. And then one of the things I want to also mention is that a lot of this processing is based on the applicants producing information that they need to complete their reports. So a lot of times we have it where it'll get going, but then it gets stalled out because we're pending some information that is needed to make the rest of the decision. That does look like being stalled, or project being stalled by others, but essentially one of the things is that it's making an application or process more robust to stand up to challenge down the road if it is challenged. And so that's what's been going on a lot with a lot of these applications, is more information is needed. That makes this a more defendable document at the end of the day.
One thing I hear so much, and I clearly don't understand, is that the fear tactics of being like sued or undermined later, or all of these things. That's why I'm suggesting going out to a group that's already handling this for other counties, somebody that's already been through this when they've already put the process together, instead of going to a group that's never maybe done this before. It's just the way.
Yeah, they have
this fear, and it's like to continue to always operate under a fear of, oh, we're always going to do this, we're always going to do that, we're always going to get sued. Well, everything we do is always under that scope. There's always someone upset with whatever you're going to do. Change brings upset.
Well, I'll be candid with you. That fear comes based on experience. I've had unsuccessful projects, or projects get challenged, and knowing why they got challenged is frustrating. So that's one of the reasons why, yeah, we do operate under the desire of having a complete document so that we don't have to worry about the things that people are waiting to do.
And in this case, I thought the state was the one backing up most of this. I thought the state does CEQAs, the state does all this. I thought the state has a lot of backing to protect the cities and counties from this.
Yeah, you're getting into the cannabis. I'm talking, this is about county process. This is about doing lot line adjustments, subdivision maps,
Right,
things that we got going on outside of
You're
everything else
absolutely
we're trying
correct,
to
but where
do.
you're missing it is that you've hired them to do something, and I'm not seeing them be very successful at that. So now you're trying to hire them to do something else, and I'm concerned that they're not capable, because
My
I'm not seeing the
experience with
capability
them-
in the original part.
My experience, and I'm pretty sure others, that I've had some very successful experiences with these guys in the past, so I'm comfortable with who we're recommending. They are also local, and they know what's going on in the county. They have pretty good.
That might be part of the problem. I might want somebody that's not local, that doesn't have any ties into this, that actually is just going to do it by the book. Because this is just a do it by the book type of a job. There is no, it shouldn't matter where you're from. Either you're capable or you're not. That's my opinion.
I mean, we could go through that process, but again, I would hazard to. My concern right now is that a process of recruiting an independent consultant, get them up to speed under contract usually is a 3 to 5 month process. And right now I'm worried about 3 weeks. That's why it's an addendum versus going next item or next meeting.
Rick, in the backup, the term was change order, but here we talk about approving an amendment. Do we have to change the language, or?
Yeah, that would have been a slip on. That's my engineering coming out.
So does the motion need to include the change order change?
Where does it say change order?
You said it when you passed out the change order.
Oh, okay, I meant to say amendment.
Okay. So it's not a change
Oh,
order?
it's amendment.
Sorry, amendment and change order are kind of interchangeable in our discussions a lot of times.
So, Rick, at our next meeting, could we get, I know Leslie was off the top of her head when she talked about the CUPs in process. Could you give us a little bit more defined list of progress on the CUPs?
Yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
So I would entertain a motion.
You have a motion, I believe.
You do.
I do?
Yeah, and so I'll call for the question.
Okay. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign?
No.
3-1, mine's against. All right, item B, addendum. Conduct a public hearing to consider taking the following actions concerning planning file P17-36 regarding APN 011-210-35 in the Hyam Palm area. 1, adopt a mitigated negative declaration finding on the basis of the whole record before the board, including initial study and comments received, that there is no substantial evidence that the project will have a significant effect on the environment, and that the mitigated negative declaration reflects the board's independent judgment and analysis. And 2, approve the zoning change of APN 011-21035 from unclassified to rural residential 40-acre minimums, finding that the action to be consistent with the overall goals and policies of the general plan, and adopt, number 3, adopt the map resolution approving the tentative parcel map P1736 based on the following findings and subject to the conditions of the approval attached here too, no fiscal impact.
So at the planning commission meeting where this item was heard, I was not present. Director Tippett was, so he might want to jump in here if you have any involved questions. He might be a little bit more familiar with it. Initially, the project was handled by an associate planner who's no longer on staff with us. So I'm reasonably familiar with the project, but if you have other questions, perhaps Rick will want to answer. The project is to rezone from unclassified to rural residential into 40-acre minimums. Originally, the applicant had asked for 20-acre minimums, but when the Planning Commission heard the item, they started looking at the overall acreage and they said, wow, you know, ultimately that could result in 12 new parcels. They weren't really good with that, so they cut it back and they said we would rather go with 40-acre minimums. And so this is, the map includes the creation of 4 parcels and a remainder. The remainder is 120 acres. So that ultimately, down the road, it could be split more. That's not the project proponent's intention at this time, but it is a possibility in the future, and the Planning Commission was good with that. When they heard the item at the Planning Commission, they further directed staff to reconfigure the parcels because there was a flag lot, and they prefer, you know, the flag lot looks like this, and they'd rather not have that. So that was, those were the 2 main items that the Planning Commission focused on, and otherwise they approved the mitigated negative declaration. There were a couple items that were called out by Fish and Wildlife for environmental impacts that are captured in the environmental constraints, and that was that they didn't want to overtap any surface diversions off of Curlin Creek, and so all of the parcels, the way that it is set up right now, they will drill wells instead of have the surface diversion, even though they could be riparian, they could claim a riparian right. And there are 100-foot setbacks as well that are written into the water courses that are in the area. Do you have any questions?
No, I just want to thank you for all the work you did on this. Was the participation from Pine Palm High, Rick, or did anybody show up? I just have to ask. I didn't get any response from
My
constituents when I...
recollection was there was a few, but not,
Okay.
it didn't pack the room, that's for sure, but there was
Okay.
a few people, mostly related to around the applicant.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for the work on this and the planning commission. Yes, ma'am.
We have 2 comments that are in
Right, I
the
read.
minutes.
I took a look at it, and that was unanimous, so I'm happy with the work. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open up to the public. All right, no comment, we'll come back.
Would you entertain a motion?
I would.
You want all 1, 2, and 3 in one, or how do you want this?
Let's do 1, and then 2 and 3.
Okay, we'll make a motion to approve addendum B, item 1, adopt a mitigated negative declaration as presented.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. All right, then 2 and 3.
I'd like to make another motion regarding item B, the addendum for item B, and that is to item 2, approve zoning change for APN 011-210-35 from unclassified to rural residential with a 40-acre minimum. And also item 3, adopt the map resolution approving the tenant parcel map, which is our file number P-17-36 as presented.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right.
That one had a resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. So number 3.
Supervisor Morris,
Yes.
Supervisor Finley,
Yes.
Supervisor Vines,
Yes.
Supervisor Groves.
Aye. Thank you for the catch. All right, on to Sheriff Addendum C, approve an agreement with Executone to provide Executone cloud, hybrid cloud business systems inclusive of all hardware, software, licenses, installation, and warranty. $56,520 over the 5 years from the existing sheriff's budget.
Yes. We are wanting to upgrade some of our phone lines, and we would like to go with Executone so that it can be a voice over IP. Right now we have an analog system and it's somewhat outdated. With the new CAD system that we are going to be implementing soon, this would work much better. And Mark is the owner of Executone, here to answer any questions if you guys have. The cost, there's no increase in cost. We might actually save a little bit of money with how he's working it.
Yeah, I'm Mark Bronick from Reading. We provided the business telecommunications equipment and service for the Sheriff's Office since the late 1990s. I can tell you this is really phase one of a three-phase project that we've been talking about for about a year and a half. And this is actually going to save the sheriff about $6,700 over the course of the first 5 years. We're basically taking inefficient, high-cost voice service that's provided by Frontier on copper lines, turning it into voice over IP, working with Velocity Technologies here, an internet service provider in Weaverville, to lower the recurring costs, and in the process update their desktop sets to modern desktop sets with caller ID, high definition speakerphones, etc. Nothing's being acquired. This is a service that's going to be done over a 5-year agreement.
So you mentioned phase one. What's phase 2 and 3 costs?
Well, phase two, there's another potential $7,700 savings based upon on-site survey. If you've been in any of the phone rooms at the jail, it takes a lot of time to deduce what each item on the Frontier bill is and tie it into an actual circuit on a wall. Phase 3 would be if we tie in the sheriff's substation in Hayfork and or the animal control facility on Mountain View. I'll be visiting those later today to make sure that they are appropriate and could be tied in. So this is really phase one, which includes the 25 desk sets that the sheriff uses now with an additional 13. So they're actually going to be increasing their number of desk sets by 13 as part of this phase one.
Okay, John?
How does this tie in with the jail? That doesn't exist yet.
Well, obviously the jail, as we heard earlier, is going to be going out to bid, and there'll
Obviously.
be, as part of that bid, there'll be all the physical infrastructure put in, voice and data cabling by whomever the contractors are selected. This system is expandable and can be added on to. So depending on how the sheriff decides they want to integrate the jail, I know the dispatch will move up there, but the admin office will stay here. So the portion of this that's being used by the jail can be easily relocated when the jail moves, whatever time frame that is. I think it's approximately 10 sets or so of the 38 are being used by the jail, along with the 2 dispatch, so that can be easily relocated at that time.
And so you're losing copper and moving toward bringing in some type of internet.
Well, we're bringing software over the internet that Velocity is providing. Velocity has put in a fiber optic cable to the jail, internet
no,
access.
to the sheriff's office.
Yes, and we're going to be delivering software over that.
So the actual phone system is not an NEC phone system, or
No, it's going to become NEC desktop sets.
desktop sets? Will there be an actual NEC little computer?
Yes,
that
a
sits
server.
there?
Actually, there'll be
Server,
2
right.
rack-mounted servers in the jail phone room.
Okay, and so will the sheriff's office be completely relying on Velocity as their?
Excellent question.
I noticed you're going to have 3 copper wires left, or 4, or not?
We planned in public safety agencies, we like to have hard copper lines as backup.
A little.
And so this phase one does include at least 3 hard copper lines, so that in the event that the internet fails for whatever reason, the sheriff can still make and receive phone calls on those 3 copper lines. That's not to mention there's an automatic cell phone backup. So there's really 2 levels of redundancy if the internet goes out.
So the if internet does go out, the 3 copper lines will handle any E911 inbound service? Or
this is-
how does the Erlang
Sure.
work out to those 3 being the,
Well, this doesn't affect E911 in any way. This is strictly the business lines, not the E911 services. So that's separate, a separate part of the Frontier bill and not part of this. This is strictly for 623-2611 and those business lines that are associated with basic voice every day, but it doesn't involve E911 or the reverse E911.
question that you might be able to answer is why are we making this change so soon, close to getting a new sheriff?
Well, they're saving money, number one, on a month-to-month basis, so there's no upfront cost, there's nothing to acquire it, so it's really to improve their efficiency.
And whoever is elected in November will be in favor of this system
Whoever is elected in November,
as the new sheriff. And they will also bring in a new undersheriff. So we're kind of saddling whoever is going to be elected in November with this system,
Well,
whether they like it or not, for 3 years and a certain amount of money out of their budget that they have not been able to let us know whether it's either of the candidates. That's the kind of question that I have. And you can't answer that.
yeah, I would just point out that the NEC platform we're recommending is the number one. We handle 2 of the top 4 tier systems at Executown. NEC is number 1 in market share worldwide, as well as here in Northern California. And then Cisco. Cisco is really a separate arena. So this system is widely distributed. It is the number 1 product on the market. We're not exclusive to it.
I know.
And so there's a lot of good reasons. It has the lowest total cost of ownership. It has the highest customer satisfaction rating. So there are a lot of good reasons people choose NEC, other than just to save money and improve their efficiencies. But it is a 5-year. We discussed the possibility. There is normally an upfront installation cost of about $2,400, which we're waiving in exchange for the 60-month term to save money. And if phase 2 and phase 3 work out, and I'm optimistic they might, the total savings to the Sheriff's Department will be just under $18,000 over 5 years. Most administrative folks, like sheriffs and undersheriffs, like to save money to free up money in their budget for other items.
Thank you.
Supervisor Morris.
Kidding. So, with voiceover, what kind of bandwidth are you're requiring?
Sure. Each phone call only takes 32 kilobits per second.
Okay.
The velocities is going 10 megabits. So we're actually only using less than a tenth of this pipe that Velocity is putting in. You may know Travis Finch, the owner of Velocity. I've already discussed the possibility that the sheriff may want to use some of that bandwidth for other applications as they come down the pipe. And he assured us that he can assign additional static IPs so the sheriff could have other applications running on that same pipe that this voice service will be. So there's extra capacity that's for future, which we all know will come.
I have one
I'm sorry.
other follow-up question, budget-wise. So, judging by the backup, it looks like this is all just going to be absorbed in the existing budget. This is not requiring additional money.
No new money.
Okay, that's right.
Okay, John?
Why or how does the system tie into the new CAD program? Is it CAD? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the new CAD system.
So what does CAD stand for? I know what
Computer-aided design.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I wasn't
So
involved
you're
specifically
drawing
with
things?
that?
You're drawing things with the CAD program? Computer-aided design, you
No,
draw.
it's the computer-aided dispatch.
Okay, excuse me.
Yeah.
Computer-aided
Oh,
dispatch.
okay. So we're both wrong, got it.
And I can't really speak to that. I wasn't involved in the computer-aided dispatch decision.
Right.
So I do know that this is a modern communications
Got it,
chassis
okay.
that can provide interconnection to whatever devices may come along. The new E911 system that the sheriff is getting, I guess, in August, we're going to be having engineering discussions tomorrow about how to tie that in, pending
Okay.
approval, of course.
Sorry.
Okay. No more questions? All right, any comments from the public?
Just John Brower from Junction City. Two brief comments. I'm not an expert in this area. I know Supervisor Finley does have expertise in this area. I think two areas of concern. One, losing copper lines and physical, real people to perform these tasks, especially in emergency scenarios like fires and floods and such. It seems like relying on internet connectivity in emergencies is not the way to go in Trinity County. That's been proven. The second thing is, I think these savings that keep getting mentioned, I mean, I would like to hear the real numbers. Like, if we're saving $7,000, what's this bill look like for sheriff's communications? And it seems like the savings come at the cost of owning the hardware. So if 5 years down the road we saved $7,000, but we don't own anything, and we haven't paid off a bunch of this infrastructure and actually own it, it's not an asset to the county. It's just another contract with another service provider we'd be up for in 7 years, instead of possibly owning our equipment and having another Trinity County job for a dispatcher. I think having real Trinity County citizens in those positions is something we should look to. I like it.
Could I address some of those concerns?
Let's finish any other public comment. Any other comment? Yeah, I'll allow a real quick response.
Yeah, this involves 18 of the copper lines at the sheriff's office. We're going to be converting 15 of the 18, but that's not all of them. There's approximately 26 hard copper lines at the sheriff's office, so we're only using a subset of them to generate this initial savings. That's point number one. Point number two, the technology industry is changing to a subscription model. Unlike Microsoft, you would go out and buy a copy of Office and you'd own it. Now you subscribe annually to your Office apps. Not unlike you would own CDs, now you stream your music. So too with voice services, they're moving from, or desktop services, from owning it and having to pay for maintenance to subscribing to a service where it's all inclusive.
All right, that will close the public and come back to the board.
I have a technical question. Is there any discussion of, until more additional redundancy comes through for middle mile fiber, to just keep a couple extra copper lines, broaden that 3 copper lines maybe to 5 just for safekeeping until more redundancy comes through on the technical side, technology side?
That'd be easy to do, and phase 2 really addresses another set of lines that could be used for that.
Looking for a motion?
I got one small question before I do a motion. It's kind of dumb, but I don't know, it's just perception for me. It's like, if we're saving money each year, why do we have to book it for 5 years, you're gonna wanna do it every year anyways, just to stop the process of coming here to ask for it, or, do you understand what I'm saying? Like each time he does it, he says we're gonna save $7,000 or $6,000 or each time. And then it's for a 5-year period, but I don't, what's the contract reason for length versus not length? I mean, I don't know. I mean, if we're saving money, it's a positive thing in that sense, you know. I mean, oh, it was just something I caught. I didn't understand kind of, but other than that, you know,
So you don't have to,
don't have
it
to come back
costs
and
you,
renew it every time.
well, it costs you, I had staff here for
That's what I mean.
6 hours today.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying.
So
Just
there's
to
cost
save
in-
that, to make it overtime. Okay, just making sure, you know. Like I said, I move to approve the sheriff's item C as written.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Sure. I actually don't think I can support this simply because of the new sheriff. I would like to see the new sheriff, whoever be involved. And there's also no, I can't think of it right now, thanks to a good brain seizure, but there's no competitive bidding or no CAO RFQ, request for quote, probably RFP, request for proposal. Possibly, this might be a time to look at the system in the courthouse also and a few other things. I think we're still on the Centrex with Frontier, so there's some other options out there. So at this time, I can't support this.
Okay, we'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, passes 3-1.
Got it.
All right. With that, I believe we're done with the open session today. We're going to closed session under 5.1, Government Code, Section 54954.5, conference with legal counsel, initiation of litigation, number of cases 1. Any comment on closed session? All right. With that, we'll take a couple of minutes to get organized and we'll go to closed session.
Sitting sheriff on the